OP is married to Luke, who has a girl BFF, Amy, who he claims is like a sister to him. Even after getting married, Luke maintained a very close bond with Amy. OP has 4 kids: Sophie 15, Owen 12, Louise 10, and Carter 6. Amy has 4 kids: Tom 17, Kaylee 14, and twins Adam and Jenna 9. But no one knows who the dad is and has never been in any long-term relationships. All the kids have grown up together and are close. OP has begun to suspect that Luke has fathered at least one, if not all, of Amy's kids. Amy stopped having kids after Luke had a vasectomy. The kids also look like Tom. OP has turned a blind eye for years, but now Tom wants to date Sophie. OP is worried they are actually half-siblings, and Tom and Amy also don't want it to happen. OP doesn't try a sneaky DNA test, but confronts Luke and Amy, who deny anything untoward, and Amy refuses to have her kids' DNA tested. Luke's mother also suspects something. OP and Luke have a big fight, and he spends the night at Amy's. OP confides in Sophie about what she suspects about Tom's real father, and is surprised to find out that the kids already suspect this, and the relationship was actually a plan to get things out in the open and force the truth from Luke and Amy. OP plans to move ahead with the divorce and try to get a DNA test done as well. Now for the 3-day update. First, a few points to answer from the comments. I don't have any DNA test results back yet. That can take weeks. But now that I know Sophie is in no danger of dating a relative, the pressure is off. I'll get into this momentarily, but it frankly no longer matters if Luke fathered the children. I highly doubt my father-in-law is having an affair with Amy. At worst, he might know, or even just suspect the truth about Amy and Luke, but it's also possible that he just refuses to believe they would do such a thing. I've been vague about details for privacy, but to put it very simply, Jim and Amy are both pretty white. Kat and Luke are not. Had Jim fathered Amy's babies, they would look different than they do. Nevertheless, I do have an update. While a stream of comments have called me spineless and naive, called me a sister wife, as an ex-Mormon, that hits a particular nerve. And most recently, a stream of comments have said my story is fake. Fair enough, it's the internet. But Luke is not the first scumbag husband to have 2 families. Several other comments have been incredibly kind and supportive, and I really appreciate that. Apologies if I haven't responded to a comment or direct message that you sent. I covered as many as I could, but I was literally getting hundreds, so I definitely missed several of them. First things first, I discussed this in the comments, but our little team has supposedly recruited my mother-in-law. I say supposedly because Sophie and Tom were going to talk to her about getting help with submitting the DNA test, and, at the advice of my lawyer, I am staying out of the process. Officially, I told Sophie not to do it, and she said she wouldn't. Mother-in-law hasn't contacted me about it either. Though we have been in touch, I'll get into that more in a moment. The bottom line is that I can honestly say I had no knowledge of any DNA test. Loophole City. Another bit of good news. I was digging through the paperwork in preparation for my divorce, wanting to get a head start against Luke, and one thing that came to my attention is that my name is on the paperwork for our home. Luke's name is not. I was the one who bought the house, and we always planned to add Luke onto the paperwork at some point, but we never got around to it, and eventually the idea was forgotten. It was my lawyer, Paige, who pointed this out to me, and it was like finding a winning lottery ticket on the ground. I don't know where I'd be without Paige. She's a dear friend from college who I reached out to, hat in hand, for help. She's been there for me this past week, not just as legal counsel, but as a friend I really needed right now. The thing is, she's not our lawyer, me and Luke. We have our own family attorney who has helped us out of jams in the past. We clashed with our HOA a few years ago, not worth getting into right now, but Paige is a lawyer who specializes in family law and has handled divorces before. Luke remembers her from college and knows she went into law but doesn't know she's a divorce attorney. So I can have her over for coffee like we're catching up, and he has no idea anything is going on. Turns out he's not the only one who can harbor someone under his spouse's nose under the guise of being a friend. So, on to the update. The last time I looked in Luke's phone was 3 months ago, around the point Sophie and Tom began to go around claiming they wanted to date. I found nothing. While I know how to search for recently deleted photos and didn't see any, my comments taught me how to find recently deleted messages. So, when Luke was asleep, I did just that. Swiped his phone and brought it downstairs, checked recently deleted. I am glad I did, but I also wish I had not, because I'm still reeling from the pain. Sure enough, a conversation with Amy had been deleted. Recent texts talking about the conflict between her and me, with Amy describing me as a problem and Luke trying to pacify her, without defending me at all, to be clear. They both alluded to how they had expected this for a while and just hoped it would never happen, presumably me accusing them of having an affair. While the whole conversation and the fact that it was deleted was sketchy, nothing was actually admitted. So I scrolled a bit higher to a few days before the fight. Amy's messages got a bit more flirty. Then, I saw it. 5 days before I confronted them, Amy had sent Luke a topless pic, a selfie with no shirt or bra. Guys, I teared up. I knew it was true. I knew it in my bones, but seeing the proof still cut me like a hot knife. Doesn't help that Amy's always had bigger breasts than me. I exited the Messages app and checked Luke's recently deleted photos. Sure enough, the same selfie was there, and others. Amy topless, Amy naked, in various poses to show off. There were pictures of the two of them together, cuddled and pressed close like a couple. In some of these, she was naked. In some, they both were. There were videos. Amy sent Luke a video message of herself topless, and I had to actually hear her voice talking to him in a tone that made me sick about how she was sending him a quick video to help him get through the day. In more than one video, she called him her boo, and hearing her call him that, I almost vomited. Stopped looking at that point. I'd seen enough, for about 5 minutes anyway. Then a strange compulsion to keep searching led me to check Luke's laptop. I knew enough of his passcodes to access his iCloud storage, and yeah, basically more of the same. There were letters, long letters between them. I didn't have the heart to read past the first few lines of one of them, but I did read Luke mention our children. There were countless naked topless selfies of Amy, selfies of them together, videos where Amy appeared to be self-intimacy. There were intimacy tapes of the two of them. Tom had previously offered to try and hide a camera in Amy's room, but he never needed to. Luke was hiding a whole treasure trove under my nose all along. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. There were so many, going back years. Not all of it was even intimacy. There were some photos of Amy's kids, too. One video was of Kaylee and the twins playing together when they were younger, and Luke and Amy's voices from behind the camera. There were even old pictures of Luke and Amy from when they were younger. I'd even say teenagers. I snapped. All these years, I had been telling myself I had to be wrong, that it couldn't be true. Well, it was true. I know that no one forced me to look at as much of the evidence as I did, but I'm still hurting very badly from having seen it, and in that moment, I wanted to act. So I did. I called my lawyer, who is a remarkable woman. It was the middle of the night, so I had to call her twice, and she picked up. Though I had woken her when I asked her to come by and said it was an emergency, she agreed. I also asked her to draw up the paperwork and have it ready. She told me that she'd already had it ready since I first reached out to her. As I waited for her, I went through the necessary channels on Luke's laptop to make sure he wouldn't be able to remotely disconnect our access to his little stash, changing passwords and all that. My lawyer, let's call her Paige, arrived, and I went outside to greet her in the car. Spent a good half hour in the passenger seat, just crying, and she was great about that, before I passed her Luke's phone and his laptop, with all the information she needed to use them. She warned me that this could be considered theft, so I asked her to forward and print out copies of everything she could and then bring the items back, because I just couldn't bear to do it myself. She agreed. I went back inside, and then I packed up Luke's things while the house slept. At one point, Owen got up to use the bathroom and asked me what I was doing, but I told him I was just cleaning. Luke stirred once or twice while I was in the bedroom, but did not wake. I got all of his things packed into trash bags, and I loaded up the car. That's when I woke him up and told him to come outside. He was confused and half asleep, but he did notice things were missing. I ignored his questions and just told him to come with me, so he followed me outside. Once we were by the car, I pulled out the divorce papers and officially handed them to him. That was about when he figured out what I was doing, and he tried to talk me out of it. Tried to be sweet with me, to be tender. He kept insisting that he loved me and that there had never been anything with Amy. Kept trying to persuade me not to tear our family apart. Even 2 weeks ago, I might have wilted under him because the manipulation and gaslighting were truly masterclass, but I can see through it now. I didn't tell him that I knew he was full of shoot. I didn't tell him what I had seen. I just told him we were finished. He tried a different approach. He refused to go, stated firmly that our children were his too, and that even if we were separating, I had no right to just decide the kids would stay with me over him. This was where I very coldly presented the paperwork reminding him that the house is in my name, and told him under no circumstances would my kids be staying with Amy. He argued a while longer, but in the end he decided to be the bigger person and keep the peace. At that moment, I didn't care where he went. Before he left, he did ask about his phone and laptop, and I waved him off by saying they were in one of the bags. Bought a little time. I couldn't sleep for the rest of that night. I cried more. Eventually, I realized I'd have to wake my children up early and explain to the extent that I could. Naturally, I woke Sophie first. I told her that I had kicked her father out and that I had discovered evidence of an affair on his devices. I did not specify what kind of evidence, and she did not ask. I woke up the others and gently told them that their dad had gone to stay somewhere else for a while. That I wasn't sure where, but from now on, things were going to be different. Louise was the one to ask if we were getting divorced, and I couldn't lie to her. I told her yes. Owen asked when they could see their father again, and I wanted to cry. Sophie was a very big help, urging her siblings to be sympathetic to me right now and worry about Dad later. I knew better than to poison them against their father. Paige warned me against doing that as well, so I only told Sophie that the affair was confirmed since she had already been in the know. However, as the kids were getting ready for school, Owen approached me and asked me point blank if it was about Amy, if Luke was going to be with her instead of me. I couldn't answer, but I suppose that's an answer on its own. Got the kids to school, and my next step was calling to have the locks changed. I knew Luke would be back for his devices before long, but thankfully Paige returned with them before he showed up again. It was a very quick visit. She just told me that all was accomplished and she had records of everything we would need in court. Sure enough, Luke turned up an hour later, demanding to know where his laptop and phone were. I had set them back in our bedroom like they had never moved, and I just told him he had forgotten them. He insisted that I had said they were in one of the bags, so I just shrugged him off and told him I must have been mistaken. After he grabbed them, he tried again to reason with me, but I just showed him the door. I knew the kids would start to come home from school before long, and I think he was trying to delay leaving so he could see them. I was not having it. I started shouting again and sent him on his way. I'm still just in absolute pain and despair for what I saw. I don't know if he'll realize that anyone went through his devices and made copies of the evidence, or if he suspects I saw anything, but he obviously didn't say so. After he left, I cried once again, talked to my mother-in-law that night. Apparently, Luke did show up to his parents' house, which was a surprise, as I was so certain he'd stay with Amy. But maybe even he knows how suspicious that would look to the children and doesn't want to rock the boat as much. Maybe he knows I'm more likely to let my children see their grandmother than Amy at this point, and he wants to see them to give his version of events. That is not happening. Kat already shared his version with me that he relayed to her and Jim, that I'm having some kind of mental breakdown, that he wishes he could help me, but my paranoia is causing me to lash out and turn violent. I was never violent. I shoved him away when he tried to hold me. That is all. And what's so hilarious is that he didn't mention Amy at all to his parents. He didn't even frame it as me falsely believing he was having an affair. Even though that's his story when talking to ME, he left Amy out of it when talking to his parents. Kat noticed that. She believes me. Jim doesn't know what to believe anymore. According to Kat, he seemed very troubled by what he heard from all sides. As for Amy, she's radio silent. Tom has told Sophie that she's acting like nothing is wrong, but is clearly stressed out. That when her children ask, she makes the same sort of claims, that I am having some kind of emotional, nervous breakdown and pushing her away, as well as Luke. She doesn't mention anything about my accusing them of an affair, but still puts it all on me. Amy has not reached out to talk to me directly, and I have not tried talking to her since our big argument. I haven't really told my kids anything, just that I'm having disagreements with Luke and Amy, though I was very clear that it is not a question of my mental health. Honestly, I think they all kind of know what's going on. Sophie continues to be my rock, as I try to be for her and the others, and Tom continues to be our spy in the ranks. Right now, my biggest regret is the stress that all of this is causing on the children, which I knew it would, but it still needed to be done. My life has fallen apart, but it was never my life. Now for a few important comments. Commenter comparison. Owen asking if it was about Amy. All of your kids must have seen and heard things from them when they thought they weren't being observed. Please get them into counseling soon. You are amazing. Stay strong and calm. That will negate all claims of you having a mental breakdown. You've got this. All the people who talked about keeping the kids together were off their rockers. Her 12-year-old knew there was something wrong, and they have been constantly thrown into a situation that was uncomfortable for them. OP has to start putting her kids first. Comment. If this is fiction, nicely done. If this is real, you got this. Commenter aggravating. This is how I feel. There's so much effort put into the story, even if it was made up by her or AI. I'm all in. Commenter. Oh. I think I was secretly holding out hope that this would all turn out okay. But life is not a fairy tale. It was a very brave thing you did, going through his devices and facing this truth. Kind of like breaking your own heart. You knew what you would find. I'm so proud of you. I can't imagine the strength it took to quietly pack his things while he slept peacefully in bed. Sounds like Luke is a master manipulator. The most recent convo with Amy even talked about knowing this would happen. He had a cover story to explain being kicked out, locked and loaded. Curious to see how he can spin this into your fault once the truth comes out. I would inquire with your attorney about putting in a stipulation in your divorce decree that Amy not be allowed around your children or under the same roof during his custody times. Amy is a vile, disgusting woman, and that's a hill I would be willing to die on. You can't do anything about Luke being around your children, but you can put any kind of stipulation like this built into your divorce decree. Seems you have done everything you could at this point. No matter how difficult it has been, you faced the truth, and now you will be able to live the rest of your life without a nagging thought at the back of your mind constantly. Don't stop updating. Then OP replied, life is not a fairy tale indeed. You're right, the nagging worry is at least gone. In a way, I think not finding anything would have been worse because it would have perpetuated the ambiguity. After talking to Tom, I was all but certain, but it was still possible to be a misunderstanding, that it wasn't true. Now I know for sure, and I hate knowing, but at least the question isn't hanging over me anymore. It's tricky because them not being allowed to see Amy is going to impact their ability to see their best friends / half-siblings. If being my husband's affair partner was all it took for me to demand she not be allowed to see the kids, I feel like a lot of divorces would have clauses like that, but I never hear about it. I don't want Amy seeing my kids, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. Commenter Interstellar Arabella. I honestly don't understand why Luke and Amy went through all this trouble. No one was stopping them from being together at the beginning. Why do all this? They're literally psychotic. They're going to start painting you as a crazy person to your circle social media soon. Do you think you can get ahead of the curve and tell people the truth, social media, without including the photos, videos, but screenshots maybe? Of course, only if your lawyer approves, or at least once the divorce proceedings have started, and Luke and Amy knows just how much evidence you have. If not, they're going to spin the story as you went crazy and divorced Luke, and they looked for each other for support and fell in love. I know you think no one will believe that story, but it's important your narrative gets out. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my boyfriend's best friend stay with us and ending the relationship when he enjoyed making me jealous? I was always a really chill person. I've always gotten along with everyone, and I really appreciate my mental peace. I hate unnecessary drama. I've been dating Zach for 3 years. He's always had his best friend, Mia, who was studying in another country. They always talked via text or video call. That never interested me at all, because I also have male friends. Mia was always disinterested when Zach was by my side on his video calls, and I wasn't interested in her either, to be honest. But Zach wanted us to be friends, so I tried. Mia listens to the same music as me, so once 3 years ago I texted her on WhatsApp to try to have a friendly conversation, but she saw the message and never answered me and blocked my number. I thought, what a rude witch. But I let it go and never talked about it to Zach, so I wouldn't make trouble. I just think that maybe she doesn't want to make friends, and I respect that. Not long ago, she returned to the country, now to stay and live here again. Zach asked me if she could stay in our apartment, and I said no. I don't feel comfortable with people staying there. Apparently, Zach told her that I was the one who refused to let her be with us because Mia has been doing everything to criticize me since that day. She has criticized my work, my studies, my hair, my clothes, etc. Zach always says that's how Mia is and I should be her friend because she's really funny. Haha. Many times, she tried to make me jealous with comments like, "You know that I used to take baths with Zach when we were little kids?" And she would get upset when I just said all right at those random comments, because why should I be jealous of that? She sits on Zach's lap. He doesn't say anything to her about that, even if he knows I don't like it. He cuddles with her every time they have the chance. They whisper to each other and go out together sometimes, and I obviously can't help but think that at any moment I will come back to the apartment and she will be wearing one of his shirts, and I don't want to deal with that, to be honest. The worst thing is that Zach really seems to like seeing me jealous. When I tell him something is bothering me, he laughs saying, "Aw, you're jelly," and stuff like that, without taking me seriously. It's pretty annoying to know that he likes me to feel that way. And Mia has been really irritable lately, like if she's competing with me. It feels like they're trying to make a novella with me. She always tries to make me jealous with stupid things, like when she said she knows Zach's favorite sushi, and I don't, to which I replied, "Then buy sushi for everyone, because I don't care at all." I've told Zach on several occasions that his friend is an idiot, and he just says Mia is like that, and I should just ignore her comments. But honestly, I don't have the energy to deal with that girl and not beat her up at the end of the month. So I told Zach I'm going to move out, and it's better to give ourselves some time. I haven't moved yet, so he's been coming to my room to tell me that I'm letting my insecurity speak for me, and he doesn't feel anything for Mia. I told him I'm not insecure, I just want to protect my mental peace and avoid drama. He got angry, saying I should fight for him and not be so apathetic. He said that if I love him, I would be fighting for him, but I have always had the philosophy that if someone wants to cheat on you, they will do it, even if you say no. I don't know if I'm being too cold about this, but I'm not the kind of person who enjoys drama. I was always the cold type of person. I hate it, and I know Zach and Mia are enjoying this love triangle. I really care about Zach, and we had a great relationship, but I care much more about my mental health. Am I the idiot? Edit. I haven't moved out yet because we pay rent together. The whole month of the rent is already paid by me because he couldn't come up with the money to pay for this month, but he's supposed to pay for the next month. I have to wait for my parents to fix my room again, so for now I have to leave my things here. At the beginning of the year, the lease was updated, so I spent a lot of money on that, as well as rent went up by 40%. So it's money wasted now. I'm pretty sad about that, since my father was the one who helped me pay for my part of the expenses of that apartment. Now for the 1-week update. I discovered Mia was sleeping with Zach. She's expecting his baby, and they kicked me out from the apartment, but I'm pregnant too. No idiots here. That didn't happen. I spoke with Zach to ask him to have a good coexistence because I'm going to stay a few more months here. Talking a little bit with him and my father, we came to the conclusion that it is better for both of us to continue living together in a healthy way. We both have our bedrooms, after all. He promised me that he wouldn't enter my bedroom without an invitation and apologized for doing that before. There are many reasons why we should continue to live together, at least until the lease expires, but I'm not going to bore everyone with those reasons. Most of those reasons are because of money and how expensive the bus would be to get from my home to my work and college every day if I come back to my parents' house. We both cried, and I asked Zach what he expected to happen when I saw him treat Mia that way. He admitted that he likes the way I look when I'm upset. He said it's a self-esteem issue he has, but he needs me to show him all the time that I love him, and the fact I never reacted affected him a lot. Honestly, he's attractive. I know he's always been pretty conceited, but I used to think that was the way he was, but now I see that it's actually a problem he has. Narcissism. Zach said that when he sees that I don't get jealous in the way he likes, he feels annoyed and even more insecure because he thinks I don't love him because he always shows me when he's jealous. He said he doesn't have feelings for Mia at all, but he likes to see my face when she talks to me that way. Zach knows Mia likes him, but he said she's like that with all her male friends too. And at first he thought it was funny to see my annoyed face, but then it started to bother him the fact I never reacted. I did react, but it was talking like an adult. He probably wanted me to yell and pull her hair. The worst part? I was going to do it 100% if she kept behaving that way. That's why I decided to cut off the relationship before I reacted in that way. Zach even mentioned other times he wanted me to be jealous about other girls, but honestly, I had no idea he did that because I think if someone is going to cheat on you, they're going to do it even if you tell them not to. I'm not going to fight for a weenie. I told him he's a weird idiot. Oh, en español, un pajero de mierda, and his insecurity ruined our relationship. I had that thought of, did I really sleep with this person, so now I want the earth to swallow me? He has always been very kind, and we had a beautiful relationship, but I just can't forget that behavior and the fact he made me feel bad about Mia. Our conversation was pretty calm after that. Zach admitted that he ruined our relationship, and I made it clear to him that we won't be a couple again. I'm a little uncomfortable, but surely as the days go by, we can be friends or at least be civil with each other. At the end of the day, we both look for different things in a partner. He wants a passionate woman who feels things just as intensely as he does, his words, and I want a mature and focused man to live in peace. I think I'm too cold for him, and he's looking for another kind of woman. Anyway, just know that no, I'm not going to be in a relationship with Zach again. That boat is already gone. For now, I just want to try to make this coexistence work, since we both know that it is what is convenient for us, and at least for my part, I'm not going to screw it up. Now for a few comments. Zach told me he made it clear to Mia that he's not going to sleep with her, but he also said that Mia is flirtatious with everyone, and he kind of justified her behavior. So yeah, according to Zach, Mia knows everything. But that's what Zach said, so who knows if it's true or not. For my part, they can both frick off, and I don't plan on talking to Mia again. Mia knows. I think they both just like the attention. Am I the idiot for wanting my son to tone down his style to avoid bullies? I'm a single dad to my son Oliver, male 10. He's with me most of the time and sees his mom every other weekend. He's an awesome kid, creative, full of energy, and he's got his own sense of style that's pretty unique. He loves bright colors, nail polish, and clothes that some people might think are more girly. If I'm honest, I think Oliver might be gay, and I'm totally cool with that. I've always made it clear that whoever he turns out to be, I'll support him 100%. Because of how he dresses and acts, Oliver's had a really tough time with other kids. He got bullied so badly at his old school that I ended up pulling him out and homeschooling him. The school wasn't helpful at all, and it was heartbreaking to see him go through that. He struggled to make friends, and it unalives me to see him feel so alone. Now, he's starting back at school in September, and he's really excited about it. But recently, we were at a cousin's birthday party, and Oliver wore his favorite jacket, which is a bright pink, sparkly one that he loves. Some of the other kids started picking on him, saying he looked gay. I stepped in, got the kids to apologize, but it ruined the day for Oliver. I'm worried about how things will go when he's back at school. I've been thinking about whether I should talk to Oliver about maybe toning it down a bit, especially when he's around new people. Not because I want him to change who he is, but because I hate seeing him get hurt and feel like an outcast. I don't want him to feel like he has to hide who he is, but I also don't want him to be picked on or excluded because of it. But then, I feel like a complete arsehole for even thinking about this. I don't want him to think that I'm ashamed of him or that he has to conform to be accepted. I want him to feel free to be himself, but I'm also scared of him being hurt by others who don't get it. So, would I be the idiot if I talked to Oliver about maybe being a bit more low-key with his style? Now for a few comments. Accomplished Mango 28. Do not dull his shine because other people don't understand him. I understand it may be coming from a place of protection, but it needs to be addressed with the potential aggressors, not with forcing your son to change who he is. OP. But when you can't do anything more with potential aggressors, I have done and will continue to do everything I can. But sadly, I can't literally watch his back 24/7, even though I would if I could. Anytime he has a comment made to him, he breaks his little heart, and it is so devastating seeing him go through that again and again. Dry Sandwich 860 Jesus. Where do you live? Most kids don't care about this kind of thing these days. If this is for real, then here's my advice. Even at 10, Oliver will know why the bullies are saying they're targeting him. Kids are highly attuned to their differences, yet he is still dressing the way he wants to dress. In my experience, it's kids who lack confidence who are more likely to get bullied. I don't mean that it's a kid's fault for being bullied, just that confidence can improve the situation. My father was the town drunk. He couldn't hold down a job. He was a proud atheist in a religious area, and because we had no money, I had no decent clothes. I was also a tubby kid. Yet I hardly ever got bullied. I think you need to talk to Oliver honestly. Tell him that some kids give him a hard time because he likes to be creative and they can't handle that. But that doesn't mean they're right and you're proud of his independence. Encourage him to talk to you about any jerks. This way, you're acknowledging the problem and are not angry or ashamed of him. So he'll be more likely to know his choices and to know that he can go to you. I would also go to the school now and ask for a meeting with his teacher and maybe even the principal. Talk about how to nip any bullying in the bud. I'd ask your GP and the people at the school if it would be possible to get counseling for Oliver so he can talk about any concerns and get advice. Good on you for wanting to stay on top of this. No address 1159. As a teacher, I can tell you, the most kids don't care about this kind of thing these days isn't accurate. There has been a huge rise in both homophobia and sexist behavior in young people, especially boys, but both sexes are guilty of it. I call it the Andrew Tate effect, and it is genuinely depressing to see as a gay teacher. Jenny Anonymous. So why did you call the jacket gay if you don't care if your son comes out as gay? Calling it gay is making it into something that a 10-year-old doesn't need to be worrying about at 10. Oh, I didn't. Did you read the post? Now for the update. Hey all, it's been about 26 days since my original post, and I thought I'd give an update now that Oliver has had his first week back at school. I can happily say that so far, things are going much better than I'd hoped. Over the summer, Oliver and I had a really important heart-to-heart. I sat him down and told him just how incredibly proud I am of the person he is becoming. I made sure he knew that there is absolutely nothing he could ever do that would change the way I see him or make me love him any less. Honestly, it was a bit emotional, and I even got a bit choked up. I told him that if wearing his favorite jacket, the one that's caused some hurt before, made him happy, I'd stand behind him 100%. But I also wanted to make sure he was prepared. I explained that while I'll always be there for him, I can't always be around to protect him, and he might have to stand up for himself if kids make fun of him. I made it clear that this doesn't mean he should change anything about who he is, but that he needs to be ready to handle it if anyone says anything cruel. Oliver understood, and we spent the summer coming up with some playful comebacks together. He really wanted to take the jacket with him to school, so we made it a bit of a project, imagining the kind of things kids might say and crafting witty replies that he could fire back with. It was actually pretty fun, and I think it helped him feel more confident about it. Now, back to school. His new teacher knows all about his past struggles with bullying, and she's been amazing. She's keeping a close eye on things and making sure he feels safe and comfortable. It's made such a difference already, and Oliver's first week couldn't have gone better. He's even made a friend, a boy named Sam, and they've really hit it off. They're planning to meet up tomorrow at the Wacky Warehouse, and Oliver can't stop talking about it. It's been a long time since I've seen him this excited about spending time with someone his age. I know it's still early days, but seeing him come home happy and smiling each day has been such a relief. Thanks to everyone who gave advice and encouragement on my original post. I really took a lot of it to heart, and I think it made a big difference in how I approached all this.